Once again, Gerald Brown back here on Heavy in the Paint. Don't forget, you can catch me obviously on Sirius XM. And you know what? Just have the honor and privilege to have a gentleman. He's always doing something. And you know what? He continues to stay busy, but he's a very positive brother. Former NFL player Will Allen joining me Heavy in the Paint. Will, I got to ask you this, starting off with college. Do you realize that if you were playing at Ohio State right now, would you have ever imagined that you would have UCLA, USC, all a part of the Big Ten? And do you have any concerns about the just how packed the Big Ten is now, featuring all these teams from the West Coast?
Man, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I'm showing my age. When I started college football, the NCAA controlled everything. They control. It was so many leagues. You think about even the Atlantic 10. You think about how the ACC was. Like there was teams in the ACC that weren't in that were in the Big East. Like you still had your Big East, and then like it was like all these different leagues, your Conference USAs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you start towards the end of the 2010s, you start seeing these small leagues and conferences deteriorate. And you know how big the Atlantic 10 was. Like, it was Catholic University USA, and that was like basketball heaven for East Coast basketball. Like, that's where you went. Like, that was the dream. And along with ACC basketball, like that's where everybody went. And it's just you start seeing that shift first with men's basketball, women's basketball, and then football took some time, but we all knew it was going to happen because the TV contracts started getting bigger. You started to see recruiting, more money being invested in recruiting, and the big teams needed more control. Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Oregon is up there. Like there is no Pac-12 no more.
Yeah.
And you like, well, where's Arizona? Where's Stanford? Stanford's in the ACC. Like, I turn on the TV, I see a big AC. I said, that is wild to me. Atlantic Coast Conference. I mean, Pitt was in the Big East. They moved to the ACC. Like, you just start seeing these teams migrate. Now, all of a sudden, it's 4 super leagues now. And it's probably going to be 2 in the next 10 years, and they're going to figure out how to make that happen. But I think it's good for recruiting. I think it's good because every year, like I played against USC, Washington in college, as non-league games. UCLA, Texas Tech. We played against those teams, and so you always played them. You either traveled or they came to you. It was a 2-year agreement. So it's only fitting now that the rich history between the Big Ten and the Pac-12, playing in the Rose Bowl championship, the type of players from both conferences now are one. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think the Michigan USC game was everything you wanted it to be, and I think however the scheduling plays out is going to play a big role, and it's going to make the Big Ten championship and other championships. I mean, Texas is an SEC, and they eating, and I wouldn't imagine that. I wouldn't imagine that 15, 20 years ago. I wouldn't imagine them going in the SEC and being able to compete against Alabama. Like, you know what I mean? Like 10 years ago, I wouldn't. Like, they're a good team, but even with Vince Young, like I still think they would have had problems against Nick Saban's Alabama's teams.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that they compete. Texas A&M can compete. All these teams is competing now in the SEC. Missouri, they can compete. Like, don't forget about Missouri. They was a what was they they was in a what?
Big 12, I think they
The
were.
Big 12, yeah, which
Yeah.
was the Big 8 back in the
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah.
you got to go back like 90s and 80s. It was the Big 8, and then they went
But
to
you
the
know
Big
about this?
12.
You throwing a lot of basketball out there. I'm seeing this. You know about your college basketball history. I'm noticing that.
So it's always been this evolution
Right.
in college sports of the dynamics and the shift based on TV money and based on exposure, you know. And the best teams came to the Big Ten. It was only fitting.
But
Oregon, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington, they had to come over.
But the only drawback that I have with that, Will, is the fact is that now there is a even smaller margin for error. So think about, obviously you playing in the Big Ten, and the head coach of your alma mater, Ryan Day, he has to beat Michigan every year.
Yeah,
On top of that, you got
without
to
a doubt.
make sure you try to win national championships. So there is no more time to develop players because you're reaching in the transfer portal. And I think it's magnified even more so. You have to win now. Because think about Notre Dame and the head coach Freeman that's down there in Notre Dame. Think about Billy Napier, who's over at the University of Florida. You're automatically on the hot seat after 2 to 3 games. Mike Norvell the same way, where there's so much pressure. And you just mentioned it. Those conference like the Big Ten is loaded. I don't know why they just don't change the name, because there's more than 10 teams in there, but it's so much more pressure. That's the thing where I think it takes away the development and the ability to develop kids over the course of time, because it's a win now mentality each and every single year.
I agree. I agree with you on the development part. Um, I think they augmented the win now by adding extra teams into the playoffs, which I think they'll continue to do because of the Super League to get more excitement and more money, more investment into the championship playoffs. Um, Now, coaches may not like it, but it augments that win now because you could probably make it with 2 losses now.
Yeah.
Like what I mean. So that helps. But the development part is critical, and Tom Brady said it eloquently. Is that they were called, I'm going to a program to be developed. I'm going to a college program to be developed. Now I'm on a team. I'm an individual on a team, and the coaches are, whatever constraints the coaches are having to develop the players, whether it be transfer portal, or whether it be more recruiting, or whether this win now mentality. I gotta pay my first and second string, which are 5 stars. I gotta pay them because I need to keep them. They're gonna be out. Whatever those constraints are, only they know, and the outside world, us and everybody else can ponder on. But it's, I think if you start developing players more intentionally. I'm not saying that they're not, but it's
Mhm.
not the same intensity as it was 20, 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, like as it is today. And you can see it. You can see it on the NFL level. You can see it on the NFL level and how it's changed. And you can start to see the disparity from the teams that are developing talent and drafting players that are developed or that want to be developed, right? You know what I mean? Like it's it's a reason why the Steelers defense is as good as it is right now, this early in the season. They got a good mix of younger players and a good mix of veteran players that know how to be pros and know what it takes. And they're all playing with a certain mentality and a certain urgency and a certain care about the shield and playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They understand what that means. Some of these guys, like, man, I'm just here to get a check. I just made $1 million last year in college. I'm just going to keep getting my bread. Like, that's different versus I made $1 million, but it don't matter because I'm trying to help this franchise win and I want to be developed. I want to learn how to be a pro. That's important to me, you know? And I think that the essence of that is on certain NFL teams are missing, whether it be the quarterback position, the defensive back position, and even the wide receiver position. You're starting to see not as many technical receivers. Not saying that they don't have the ability, but they're not demonstrating it week in and week out, you know, and it costs you when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, and you need an extra yard and you don't get it. Now you're just hoping for a big play. You're just hoping for a big play or a pass interference, and it's just like, you know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But your point is well taken, man, and
Yeah.
it's just transformed so much.
I want to ask you this before we move on, because you touched on the Steelers, and I definitely got to make sure we shout them out. You know, you started off talking about basketball and the correlation in Atlantic 10, ACC, and your knowledge of college basketball and the history of it. You know, I want to ask you this because you would be able to answer this, because this is something that myself and my co-host on SiriusXM, Rick Mahorn, we always talked about. Why hasn't the NCAA, why have they been so reluctant to adapt a model that's similar or replicates what you have in college basketball? Because what's happening now, Will, is that you're seeing kids that are top flight guys that's going to be drafted. They're devaluing those non-playoff bowls. So now a Gator Bowl doesn't have any, you know, it doesn't carry any luster. It doesn't have any type of connection whatsoever. It's playoff bowls and that's it. Why not really implement all of those smaller bowls, expand the playoff market and the playoff field, and now allow those bowls and these teams and these players to now be invested because they're going after a one goal? Why do you think the NCAA has been so reluctant to incorporate something like that?
Gerald, that's a great question. I just think it's timing. I think they got to do it in a phased approach. You know, 2014 was the first year of the college playoffs. We're now 10 years in, and now we just expanded. The NCAA has just expanded to like an 18 playoff now. It may take another 10 years to expand another 4 or 5 teams, the 4 to 8 teams. We don't know, right? So I just think they want to understand, look at the data, look at the TV contracts, understand that the product is still healthy. The product is still a great product. People, you know, college football is still growing year over year incredibly, much like the NFL game is. So I just think for them, they need to know that if they expand it, it's going to stick. It's a business decision, and how quickly do they need to make that business decision? I don't think it'll get to 64.
Yeah.
You know, like the NCAA is, but I think it'll get to like maybe 12. I think it'll get to 12, and they'll have regions. You know, where everybody, like just like NCAA, 4 different regions, and those regions play against each other. 4 on each side. 8 on each side, 4 in each region, and they come down and play to a championship. Well, that's 16, not 12. So
well,
maybe
might get to 16.
It might get 16, 4 in each region, and just kind of get it down that way. And I think that'll be good. And you keep the season the same. You play an extra 3 games, and there you go.
Yeah. Will Allen joining me here, heavy in the paint. Will, you had an opportunity to do 2 stints with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've already said earlier that hands down, we're witnessing why the Pittsburgh Steelers, top to bottom, are the best franchise in the NFL. And it's not like it's something new, that the job that Mike Tomlin is doing with this current team, but it's just really, it stands out more than ever. What has been your biggest takeaway from, first of all, being on the inside of that Steelers franchise and playing there and having success? What has been your takeaway from it?
Man, that's great. That's another great question. I mean, Mike T's my guy, man. I've known him for 20 years. He drafted me at Tampa, your squad,
Yes.
I
know.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
Mike T and John Gruden and Monty Kiffin, God bless his soul. Seriously, he passed away a few months ago.
Yes.
Great D coordinator, man. Championship guy, championship, team. Mike T drafted me, man, and that he's been the same person then that he is now. He just figured out how to get a little better every day, and he knows how to draw the best out of players and his coaches. He is a master of his craft at evaluating talent, evaluating people, and making sure he can pull the best out of them as a position coach, as a defensive coordinator, and as a head coach. It's hard to do it as a head coach because a lot of times head coaches run around, let's go, man, let's go, blah, blah, blah. And then behind the scenes, they're working with their staff. He knows exactly what to say to each player, whether they're an undrafted free agent or whether they're Minka Fitzpatrick, on what they need to do and how to motivate them, and what he expects out of them. And that's his unique skill set. That's his unique ability. I still go to the facility, every now and then just to like say hi and speak to him and see how he's coaching and see how he's motivating players. And man, it's incredible. It's incredible, man. Like he just knows what to do and it's his way. And I think that one thing that's unique about it all is that the the guys are Steelers. Mike T understands the Steeler way, and he lets that permeate through the whole facility. Omar Khan has been there 20 years. He understands the Steeler way, and it's like they want players who understand that value and know how to align with that value system, going back 50 years. You know what I mean? So it's not Mike is just enhancing it. Omar Khan is just enhancing it. They understand their roles and they understand their leadership position. And I think you keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again, and you love it. You love to master your craft that way. You see the outcomes and you see what it produces.
What is the Steeler way?
Man, that's a good question, man. I mean, what does it mean to be a Steeler? I think it's a selfless commitment to give everything you have every day. It's a selfless commitment to remember the past, but to move forward. The Steeler mentality, and that mentality is, man, come to work, put your hard hat on, give it your all every single time, and you bring your brother along with you. You know, I give a great story. When I came from Tampa, and I had a great time at Tampa. I played with some OGs and some Hall of Famers, wonderful dudes. They blessed me, man. They loved on me. They cared about me. Team was great. I think the ownership and management was a little um, but when I got to the Steelers, I was used to like yelling and like screaming and like thinking that was a way to get stuff out of people because that's what I was taught there. They yelled at you, they screamed at you, and there's nothing wrong with that. That was their way back then. Yell at you, cuss at you, do that. But when I got to the Steelers, nobody did that. Only time somebody yelled at you if you really did something wrong. I was yelling at one of the players, let's go, man, with the da, 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 in practice, spring practice. Ryan Clark, Ike Taylor, and Troy Polamalu back there sitting on their helmets. I've never seen the star players sitting on their helmets before in practice. RC patiently, Ryan Clark patiently comes by me, puts his arm around me, and said, man, let me talk to you real quick. He said, man, you come here to help the team. I got here in 2006. You see that guy right there, Troy Polamalu? You see that guy, Ike Taylor? They were drafted here. They got 2 Super Bowls. I got 1. I said, we treat everybody here as men. We put everybody here with respect. We don't yell at our brothers. We don't put our brothers down. He's like, that may have worked for you in Tampa. He said, but you ain't got no Super Bowl rings. They may have won it in '02, but those guys got 2 of them. And that's a Hall of Famer. And he said, man, we respect each other around here, man, and we going to go hard for each other. And the way we do that is encourage and uplift each other, and we lay it all out on the line for each other. I ain't here to tell you to do anything wrong, but I'm just telling you that's how we do it. I said, okay. I said, say less. And that really to me was like, I can still be myself because I am an intense person, but I also need to know that dude is here to help me. I got to encourage him. There ain't no ego. You know what I'm saying? We in the trenches together, and we gonna give it up together, and we gonna make sure we enforce our will on our opponent. And that's who we yelling and screaming at. We encouraging each other, and we gonna come to the sideline. We gonna talk about it as men. And man, that taught me so much, man, just about locker room culture, about personalities, about respect. And that didn't come, the players police that, you know what I mean? And then the coaches, they do the same, you know, and that's the Steeler way, bro. That's the best way for me to illustrate that with that example, but also describe it in the words and adjectives that I've used. But man, that's where they are where they are. Guys like Cam Hayward, guys like Minka Fitzpatrick, even the rookies that they drafted, like these guys are serious dudes, man. They play hard, and they want to win for the franchise. And they want to win for each other, and it ain't cliche. It ain't something that you just got to talk about. You just do it with your actions, and that's what RC and Casey Hampton and Brett Kiesel and James Harrison and Larry Foote, and James Ferrier and Troy. That's Ike Taylor. All those guys showed me that, man. It was a beautiful thing to play in that environment. It's a beautiful to go back and see the legacy like they left, and I was blessed enough to be a part of, and see it still continue with great talent. Like you see T.J. Watt and Cam and Minka. Some of the free agent guys coming in, adopting that and realizing, yeah, man, I gotta these my guys. And now you get to come back when you done and talk about the investment you made into the franchise. That's a different type of love, bro.
Yeah.
That and the owners respect that, bro. The owners respect that,
That's why they have all the success, and definitely miss you with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I root for them even more. You see the helmet because of Todd Bowles. Got to support the brother.
I love Todd, man. He got that team running, man. He building a great culture, man. I love what he's doing down there, man.
Yeah,
I do.
If I want to go, and before I go on to you, and I know you obviously definitely appreciate the time. You talked about obviously basketball, and I want to make this correlation. And it's funny, I was talking to BJ Armstrong, great friend of mine, and we were talking. And I said, is it safe to say if you had to compare Mike Tomlin to a not even compare him, but if there was a comparable match in the NBA in terms of sort of that pedigree of coaches, who would it be? I said it might have to be Phil Jackson because of the level of success. And the thing about it is the words to be able to gather what they need out of you. And that's the thing. And I mean, yeah, granted, championships, all that stuff. But in terms of coaching, to be able to communicate, get the most out of you, and also have that level of stability.
I don't know. Phil the OG. I like the more the comparison of Phil and Belichick. Bill Belichick. And they may be contrastly different in their approaches, but their approaches were so
effective,
super effective. And I think in my mind, Mike T is more like a Steve Kerr or Eric Spoelstra. You know what I mean? That's you know what I mean? I don't know.
I might say Greg Popovich. I mean,
there you go. Yeah. Pop.
Longevity really stands out to me.
But Kerr.
You're right, and no disrespect to Steve Kerr and all those guys.
But now you're right. Pop and Mike T are probably the same.
Yeah, because when I look at the Spurs, you're talking about a level of organization that has really very little turnover at the coaching. Who the head coach is going to be. The I wouldn't say power, but the influence he has on the organization. And what Mike Tomlin has been able to do, it shouldn't stand out because, I mean, he's been able to do it so often. But I think of more than ever, I said earlier, look, the mindset, it just really seems that they have a recipe for success for Justin Fields is, look, we don't need you to win the game. Just don't lose it for us. And that really just stands out. But I would say perhaps maybe not Phil, maybe Greg Popovich and stuff. You walked away from the game and you've stayed busy and stuff. Have you ever had any desire to maybe get into that coaching aspect? Or what does Will Allen do right now to really, again, to sort of, in a sense, still have that competitive nature and stuff? I mean,
Yeah, that's a excellent question. I think one of the biggest things for me, um, nothing can compare to professional sports and the competitive nature and the high performance nature that it requires and the demands that it requires of you. I had a fantastic time playing and learning about myself. I think transitioning out was probably one of the most challenging and difficult things that I've experienced and still experiencing, and it's been 8 seasons now. But I think for me, it's like reflecting back on those moments and gleaning information and gleaning those experiences and tools that I've developed and learned, and learning how to make those better and translate those into business and translate those into supporting the community, translate that into developing people that are around me, the way that I was developed, the way that I was invested in. And so I take that as a platform. I take that platform in sports, and I just transition it to like business, community, and still have my foot, in sports and entertainment because I love it. It's always been a part of me since I was 4 years old. You know, and so if I create a Venn diagram, I'm just a bridge to like all three of those sectors. And I've been able to, have my nonprofit, the Will Allen Foundation, where we help and serve, youth with career mobility and community with resources and tools so they can be better and they can achieve their success, and creating more access and exposure for people, so they can see themselves where they want to go. And then on the business side, I coming out, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, man, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do this? Like, I don't have much experience. This is all foreign to me. And it's the same. You don't start with middle school ball and go straight to the pros. Like, right? You gotta be good at middle school. Then you gotta go to high school. And then you 14, you going against 18-year-olds. You gotta figure out how to make that work. And then you go to college. And then you 18 playing with 22, 23-year-olds. Now you got to figure out how to make that work. It's like this curve, man, and it's a process. So what I've learned coming out is I don't have to be a microwave. I don't have to boil the ocean. It's a process, bro. It's a process, and you got to stay committed to that process. You got to stay on that grind. You got to set your short term and long term goals, and there's gonna be some volatility and some turbulence along the way, and adversity you're gonna face. So now I get to evaluate talent. I get to evaluate talent now. I get to evaluate just like I was evaluated. I get to invest in people and their dreams and their hopes, just like I was invested in. General manager and the owner said, "Well, Allen's good enough to play. He has the talent and ability. Let's see if he can go the distance. Let's see if he can get a return on our investment." And so I get to support founders and almost be a coach in a way, based on my business acumen, my business experience. And I've also invested in real estate. So I had to synthesize all this information, all this data. It's always been a process to get to this point where, I can see myself and experience the life that I wanna live, and I'm having fun doing it. I get to meet incredible people. I get to talk about these stories and experiences with you and others. And when I first came out, I was a lost little puppy. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was, trying to do everything, and now I have a more centralized focus, man, and a true north, around business, community, and sports and entertainment, and how I connect all those together. And it's been a good ride learning that, and I'm just scratching the surface. I'm just scratching the surface on where it could go, and help in building teams. That's what I love to do. So if I ever, like, yes, I could have went back and coached, you
Mm,
know, and it would have been great. It would have been phenomenal, and I would have been building teams, thinking
right.
about strategy, thinking about how
Mhm.
to win games, and I'm doing the same thing right now.
I don't know. You touched on sports and entertainment. Any broadcast aspirations, or are you doing that and stuff like that?
No, I think more it's just like being involved in sports, leaning in on my sports relationships. I am gonna start. I'm gonna start like a like kind of like a mini series, kind of like a mini series slash just um like show, if you will. Because I want to share my experiences. I want to share other people's experiences in a unique format, an unscripted format. I don't want it to be a podcast. I don't want to just Q&A. I think it's cool. I think it's great content, but I want to go layers deep. I want to tell these stories. It's almost like reading a novel of people's lives, and I think we need more of that unfiltered, unscripted content in a mini series slash show type form that brings out these truisms in life, and we just dropping gems and dropping nuggets. So I've been thinking about that for some time now, with the right people in the right group, where we just share. So that's on the horizon. Everything in its timing, because I got a business to run. I got nonprofits to run. I serve on boards, like, and it's fun. So it's in me. I got to get it out, you know, because I got a lot of things I want to share, and I also want to share other people's experiences and people that I love art, man. I'm into art. I'm into golf. It's like so many things, man. There's so many great people through this life journey of sports that I've been able to get access to, and people access to me, and we've been able to build some incredible things together, and I want to keep doing that.
Well, Will, you know what, man? As we wrap up, man, I will say that I'm going to definitely, as they say, give you your flowers, because I remember many years ago, before even Sirius XM is starting out, and I remember you were coming from the movie theater, and you were just with the Buccaneers and did the interview. And one thing that in this time of our communication, I've always said, and I've always walked away saying and having the impression that you're a very, very knowledgeable brother, very committed to supporting and helping people and those in need, which Will Allen Foundation, which you've done a tremendous, tremendous amount of good and continue to do. But also, you're not just an athlete. You're a very, very intelligent brother. And one thing that always still stands out, I remember you were the first person to me that showed me how the difference of the Instagram videos, pictures, and how much the moving images, how it would and that when you did that and said that, it let me know that you're very, very intelligent, and being able to, look at things like that, evaluate it. That was just like, wow. And like, obviously following you still on Instagram, it's not just always about, sports. It's so many things that you touch on. And I always look at you as a Renaissance man. And I definitely want to say thank you so much for obviously the time, the information that you have provided in communication with me over the years.
Man.
And I'm still disappointed I didn't follow through going to see you play with the Steelers against them Ravens and towards the tail end of your career. It was like,
It's all good. We'll figure it out, man. But and I appreciate you too, man. You've always been, good to me. Like, you've always been mastering your craft, man, and media. You know how to build relationships, and they're authentic, man. And you just been, man. You've been really a unique person in this game that deserves a lot more flowers than you've already been given, man. And one day, man, you gonna sit back. You're gonna be getting awards. All your colleagues and friends are gonna be celebrating you. They already do, but doing it even more. It's because you're a real person, and you handle your business. You know what I'm saying? And people respect that, and you love what you do. Like, you've been doing this for a minute, bro, and got real good content. And you figuring out a way to do some things differently and uniquely in the sports entertainment space. So, man, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Stay encouraged on that journey, and it's beautiful to see, man, from where we came from to where we are today. So it's beautiful. Matter of fact, we play in golf tournaments together, like all the things we done did so many things,
man.
bro.
In fact, man, you got to make sure when you do that, and we'll talk about this off here. I got a couple individuals definitely for that sports content when you get it going. But listen, man, in wrapping up, continued success in all that you do. You, your family, man, nothing but success. Appreciate you, brother, and continue to be that shining light that is inspiring so many people out there. that you probably don't even know, because I am one. And
Wow,
just
thank
looking
you.
at the things that you're doing, my brother, it
Thank you.
is truly, truly uplifted. All the best to you and yours.
Blessings, brother.
The legendary Will Allen, right here, heavy in the paint. Peace. Hey, what's up, everybody? Gerald Brown here for another season of Heavy in the Paint. Took some time off, but I'm ready to get going. And you know what? So much that you can expect for this season right here. Gonna have amazing guests, tremendous insight on the world of sports, and a lot of my takeaways from everything associated with sports. So make sure your voice is heard and your thoughts matter. Make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button. You can always check me out on SiriusXM NBA Radio, the Bottom Line Sports Show, and every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, all across those SiriusXM sports platforms, as well as on Mad Dog. So my takeaway, week 3 is upon us. And I took some time because I wanted to really, really digest the early stages of the season, really understand who's real, who's fake. My biggest takeaway is, hey, I'm going to say it right now. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the year. Pittsburgh Steelers, proving once again why they are the best organization in the NFL. Kansas City, yes, you've won, all that stuff, but consistency and stability. They have taken a quarterback in Justin Fields, who was not the starter, and basically have groomed him to understand, listen, we don't need you to win games. All we need you to do is not lose them. And Mike Tomlin and this formula of success, they're going to play hard. They're built on defense, what we all know about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's why they're 3-0. I'm very, very surprised, but definitely got to salute Mike Tomlin in the job he's doing. Definitely got to salute Sam Darnold of the Minnesota Vikings. His success clearly shows New York Jets didn't know how to develop a quarterback, i.e., that's why they went the free agency route. When you look at a guy like the Carolina Panthers, that's why they're having problems with Bryce Young, don't know how to develop a quarterback. So at the end of the day, I'm going to look at Sam Darnold and looking at what he's doing in Minnesota. And look, the key for any quarterback, you got to have talent around you. Look at Patrick Mahomes with, again, Travis Kelce, among others, having talent around you. When you have Justin Jefferson to that Minnesota Viking mix, you can't really go wrong at all. The verdict is still out, in my opinion, on the Houston Texans. You know what? They caught a lot of people last year by surprise because, again, nobody was expecting them to do what they've done. And look, it's still early, but I'm looking at them, and teams are starting to circle when they're playing the Texans. They're not sneaking up on anybody at all. And you know what? They're getting a little bit more national recognition. So the jury's still out on them. The Dallas Cowboys, my duds. I'm definitely going to say it right off the bat. I'm sick and tired of all the talk and banter about the Dallas Cowboys. They have looked very, very ordinary in these last 3 games. Yes, they beat the Cleveland Browns team. We already know what type of issues they have. I'm going to look at them and say they're definitely in my duds. And then I'm going to look at the fact of the matter is, with the Las Vegas Raiders, I think you definitely need to start thinking about trading Devontae Adams, because it's only going to get worse. Didn't we see this whole situation happen with Keyshawn Johnson when he was in New York and he really wanted to get out of there? It doesn't get any prettier at all. Those are my takeaways from week 3. It's just getting started. Just make sure you keep it right here. Heavy in the paint, Gerald Brown, back for season 2. Peace.